What's good, folkers? Snapzilla Gorilla, aka Snap Turtle, aka The Definition, coming at y'all with another short, informative video. Now, we all know what's going on in Virginia and how they're trying to push a massive amount of gun control out there. It's going to make it even worse in California, probably even worse in New York. You know, text message came in. So, you know, they've been coming up with these sanctuary cities or sanctuary counties out there to push back against the ridiculous amount of gun control that they're pushing through the legislature. Okay. Now we've heard things about sending the National Guard out to enforce these laws and all that. And, you know, I've done an interview. I interviewed National Guardsmen to actually see how that would work and if that even would work and all this other shit. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to what I'm going to read from this news article from WDBJ. Let's see. I think it's out of, it might be a New Jersey, local New Jersey, news organization. But they're associated with, I think, ABC 7, whatever. Listen, I want you guys to pay attention to the veiled threats or not so veiled threats in this here article. Okay? First, I'm going to start with the headline. So, the headline goes, Second Amendment, sanctuary spread, gun control groups warn of consequences. That's a threat. Okay? Don't make no bones about it. You know what? There's a video here. Let's listen to it. I read through this article, but let's see if it's word for word. Okay? All right, hold on. Fair use. An ad. Hold on. I might not get any reception. Let's see what's going on here.
Our top story, we have told you about the multiple counties in our region that have declared themselves Second Amendment sanctuaries or shown support for that movement. Now, one gun control group is warning there could be consequences in both lawsuits and lives. WDBJ 7's Eric Miller has the story.
You hear that? In both lawsuits and lives.
From Bedford to Botetourt County, Second Amendment sanctuaries have been popping up across Virginia. But Eric Tirschwell worries the sanctuaries could do some real-world harm.
These resolutions are nothing more than an attempt to short-circuit the democratic process.
Tirschwell is managing director of litigation and national enforcement policy at Everytown for...
Now, short-circuit democracy. Okay. Let's short-circuit democracy. Let's get it the fuck out of here. 2 wolves and a lamb deciding what's for dinner. Everytown, by the way, is a Michael Bloomberg motherfucking a baby, okay? You know what I mean? So, let's keep going from here.
Gun Safety, a gun control advocacy group. Tirschwell argues the resolutions are problematic for a number of reasons. Most importantly, he says, because they put lives at risk.
How is
These
that?
resolutions could have and threaten to have a chilling effect on people who might otherwise use or take advantage of gun safety laws to try to prevent harm, a suicide, homicide, or even a mass shooting.
However, gun rights organizers say Tirschwell and other critics are missing the message. In statements to city and county governments across our region, citizens have argued that the resolutions are about making the governor and House of Delegates pay attention.
Because we don't have a voice at the state level. We only have a voice at the local level.
They also say the movement is chiefly about standing up for constitutional rights.
Don't let Botetourt County
listen.
be culpable in the death of liberties and freedoms.
Tirschwell takes
Listen,
issue with that,
listen.
noting that laws
Look at how they throw the word constitutional rights around, okay? They're not constitutional rights. They're rights that are recognized by the Constitution. These are rights we have with or without the Constitution, okay? Understand that. We don't need a Constitution to have our rights. The Constitution and the Bill of Rights do not grant rights. They recognize and acknowledge rights, and they let the government know that these rights will be recognized along with many other rights that are not itemized in the document. All right? There's no such thing as constitutional rights. There are rights that are recognized by the Constitution. Okay? Let's keep going.
Decried by gun rights activists, like expanding background checks and so-called red flag laws, have been upheld in the courts.
These officials aren't, quote-unquote, defending the Constitution, as they like to say. They're really threatening to defy it and to substitute their own personal views of what's constitutional.
For now, Tirschwell says any threat posed...
Now listen, I want you guys to understand what he's talking about, okay? In the United States government, okay, the way that the Fed, the central government, is set up, supposedly for checks and balances is you have 3 branches of government, okay? You have 3 branches. You have the legislative branch, which creates the laws. You have the executive branch, which executes and enforces the laws. And then you have the judicial branch, which interpret the Constitution and interpret the laws and oversee the laws, okay? What he's talking about here, when he said that these officials having their personal views on what is constitutional, what isn't constitutional, he's talking about the fact that they outline in the Constitution that the judicial branch, the judges, the courts, determine what each amendment and what each Bill of Rights means. So when they introduce, when they take shit to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court rules on a certain thing, that they have to determine whether or not something is constitutional, okay, through their own subjective bullshit mind, okay. So then they determine, okay, we feel like because we're judges on this high court, right, the Supreme Court, we're the Supreme Court, we're you know what I mean? They feel like that is the law of the land. So the courts say, oh, okay, this law is constitutional, this law isn't constitutional. They determine that, okay? So that's what he's talking about. He's talking about, that's why he's saying that these officials that are calling for these sanctuary cities, sanctuary counties, are going against the Constitution because they're disregarding the judicial branch to determine whether or not they're going to protect these rights, okay? And that's the problem I have with using the Constitution as a shield to protect your rights. You do not need to use you should not use the Constitution to shield your rights, okay? What you should do is use the fact that you're a human being. The fact that you're a human being, shield your rights. Not a fucking piece of paper, okay? Because there are things in the Constitution that I'm wholly against. But a key factor here is shall not be infringed. Shall not be infringed. Shall not be hindered. Shall not be set upon. Shall not be ruled against. Shall not be taken away. Shall not be manipulated. Shall not be tailored. None of that. Shall not be infringed. Any judge that would interpret that any other way, they're going against the Constitution, point blank and period. The fact that these lawmakers in Virginia introduced these laws in the first place, or are introducing these laws, is unconstitutional according to shall not be infringed, point blank and period. Just like with the First Amendment, no law shall be made going against freedom of speech, even though they say, oh, yelling fire in the movie theater is this and that and all this other shit, threats and things like that. They try to, and that's how they justify how they manipulate the Second Amendment, is because you can't just outright threaten somebody verbally, right? They call that a terroristic threat. Well, if you want to go, you got to go hard in the paint. You got to go hard in the paint. It's either you have the right of free speech or you don't. Because somebody can threaten somebody all day. That doesn't mean that they're going to actually act on that threat. What you'd have to do as a human being, as an individual, is ensure that if someone is threatening you, you are prepared to defend yourself if they take action. It's up to you to ultimately defend yourself against the threat. Point blank and period. So someone can make a threat over the phone, and you can call the cops on them, and they can come snatch them up. But they haven't done anything technically wrong to you. They haven't harmed you. They threaten to harm you, but they haven't harmed you. That's how you have to look at all the Bill of Rights. They shall not be infringed. No law. There shall be no law. That's what it says in the First Amendment. There shall not be there shall be no law. I don't care if somebody's threatening you. I don't care if somebody's yelling fire in the movie theater. If people want to wig out and go get hysterical because they heard the word fire in the movie theater, I mean, have some control. Operate with a level head. That's what we're missing. We got to stop protecting people who have no sense. We have to teach them that you need to learn some sense. If somebody yells fire in the movie theater, assess. See what's going on. And if you see no fire, if you smell no smoke, then calm the hell down. That's how we have to operate. We have to have a cool, level head, and we have to stop acting on emotion and fear all the time. So when they talk about the Constitution and the interpretation of it, oh, the judges interpreted. Fuck that. That's what I'm trying to say. You cannot use the Constitution as a shield to protect your rights. You must operate under the mindset that, look, I'm a human being. You're a human being. You weren't granted any special abilities or special powers. You weren't anointed by God or anything like that. You have not proven to me that you're a better man than me or a better woman than me to tell me what I can and can't do as long as I'm not hurting anybody. That's point blank period. That's the common sense gun law. If I harm no one with my weapon for no reason, then there shall be no law. You should let me have my shit. So that's the whole point behind this, right? That's what he's saying. He's saying, according to the Constitution, the judges have to interpret what this, that, and third is. So he's basically saying, oh, you got to go through the courts. So they make the law, then you have to sue them for the law. Then you got to go through the courts. You got to go through the lower courts, and then you got to get to the higher courts. In the higher court, the Supreme Court, they might not even want to look at it. So if they don't look at it, that means the law stands. Whatever is interpreted, whatever decision is made by the lower courts, the circuit courts, right, of that district or whatever, then it'll go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court can kick it down and say that decision stands. And then what? So in that fashion, they can deny any right for any reason, as long as the judge says, oh, well, you don't need that right. Oh, that law is not unconstitutional, even though it might be. You understand what I'm saying? I know I'm saying a lot here, but I want y'all to understand you cannot use the Constitution as a shield. Okay? It was the Constitution was created by people who wanted the power to control the people that they made the fucking Constitution for. Period. They wanted a means of control, right? It's like a Bible. Anyway, let's keep going with this. A little bit more time left. Sorry about that.
The threat posed by the resolutions is purely theoretical. However, he warns that any officials who try to use the resolutions to defy state gun control laws could have a rude awakening.
And I wouldn't suggest betting on them.
In Roanoke, Eric Miller, WDBJ7.
Do you hear that? I wouldn't suggest betting on them. Well, guess what? Sorry about that. So you know what that means to me? That I need to bet on them. We all need to bet on the people of Virginia to retain their rights. That's what this dude is telling you. This Senator fucking Eric Tirschwell. That's what he's telling you. He's not going to bet on the people of Virginia to keep their rights intact. The little rights they do have. And this is why I say the Constitution should not be used as a shield, because guess what? They're going to win every time, because you got to go through the courts. And whatever the court decides, whatever the judge decides, that's what stands. See, now they have this this other gun control issue going to the Supreme Court next year. Okay, for the state of New York, about how you can transport your weapons and all that shit, take weapons out the house. If a judge determines that that law is constitutional, then guess what? Every other state that feels like it can make a law, and they set precedent. See what I'm saying? This is why you can't rely on that. The courts set a precedent. Is very difficult to go against it. Once the higher courts does that, so now what you have done is you've placed 9 individuals, okay? 9 individuals in the Supreme Court to rule over you, to determine what law is or is not constitutional. And this is why government is shit. This is why the government doesn't do well for people. This is why democracy is a piece of shit. This is why a constitutional republic or a democratic republic ain't shit. See what I'm saying? This is why we don't need that. We need to determine whether or not, if you don't want a firearm, don't get one. That's simple as that. Just because you don't want one, don't mean that I don't want one. You know, your want should not affect what I want and what I should be able to have. See, I had a discussion with my brother's woman thing. I don't know what she is to him, but she's apparently a gun enthusiast, right? She's a gun enthusiast, but only handguns. She says she had her ex-husband was a soldier or naval officer and was really into guns and she would get into it with him about get into it with him about whether or not he needs this or needs that. Now look, dude had a sniper rifle, a custom sniper rifle. Okay, now he lives in Mississippi. You know, you have shit like that, I guess, out there. But she was like, "Why do you need that? Why do you need a sniper rifle? Why do you need an assault rifle?" I said, 1, that's my business. 2, it's not your business. 3, because I want one. And 4, because it's my business. 5, because it's not your business. Point blank and period. That's all you need to say to these people. You don't need to explain why you need this and need that. Oh, well, you don't need to hunt. You need a sniper rifle to hunt. You don't need an AR to hunt. You don't know what I need to do what with. And I'm like, you know all this shit about guns. You know that it's not about necessarily the actual firearm, right? Let's say you want to go hunting, right? You want to use the proper ammunition, not the proper fucking rifle. The proper ammunition, you know. So I got into hunting with the 22 LR, right? 22 L long rifle, right? A long, a rifle round, right? I said that the only difference between a 223, right, which is the caliber of an AR-15 or M4 or M16, the only difference between a 223 and a 22 is 3 thousandths of an inch. That's it. What matters is the load. And what I mean load is the load of the powder that they put into the shell that you put the bullet on top of, right? So you have the cartridge, then you have the powder that goes in there that sends it. You know, the amount of powder that you put in there and the potency of the powder determines how fast the bullet goes. The faster the bullet goes, the more powerful it is. But meaning the more likely you are to die from it, right? Or the more damage it's going to cause, because it's going to fly through, right? So I said, if you're hunting, the only determination you make is the load of that ammunition, because you don't want the animal to suffer. You shoot the animal in the right spot, and you make sure that it obliterates the heart, the organ, right? Because typically you want to go for the heart, right? Or the brain, because you don't want that animal to suffer. So you use the right load to devastate the heart completely in his life right away. You don't want it to suffer. You don't want to use something that's going to go through. You don't want to do a flesh wound, you know, or hit an organ, right? You don't want to hit a vital organ, but not obliterate the vital organ, because it'll suffer. It is going to die. It's going to die anyway, because you hit the organ. It's going to bleed out. You want it to die. That's the whole point of hunting it. But you don't want it to bleed out slowly. You don't want it to be conscious. You don't want it to feel the pain as it's dying. So you want to make sure that you get the right load for the right type of animal, for the right size of the animal, and you want to put that animal down immediately, just like that. And on top of that, you don't want adrenaline getting pumped into the meat. Real shit. So the point is, it doesn't matter what type of rifle you use. It doesn't matter if it's a single shot, lever action, top fed rifle. or a modular AR that's magazine fed. What matters is how the type of round and the load of the round. Is it a fucking bolt tail? Is it a hollow point? Is it a full metal jacket? Is it a shredder? You know what I mean? These are the things that you are going to determine. Okay? Most likely, if it's a rifle round and it's full metal jacket, it's going to go right through the body, and it's going to take a lot more shots to put an animal or a human being down with the full metal jacket. If you just don't take my word for it, research that. In war, when you use an M16 or M4, it's a lot more accurate than the AK, but because the ammunition they use in the military, in the army, or in the U.S. military, they use the ball, which is a very pointy and it's armor piercing. So that's less likely to leave a big, it's not going to leave as much damage. It's not going to kill a person right away. So it's going to take more shots to put a person down with it. But they act like if you shoot somebody with it, their whole body is going to explode. Oh, it's a war wound. What's a war wound? What's a war wound? What's the difference between a war wound and a civilian wound when a motherfucker gets shot? A gunshot is a gunshot. What's a war wound? Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, but y'all get what I'm saying. This senator Eric Tirschwell, is basically threatening the people of Virginia. If you guys go through with these resolutions, it's going to cause some lives to be lost and all the drama for nothing. Come on, man. But this is the shit they do. They try to strike fear in you. They use pathos to sway the audience, or sway the crowd, or sway the constituents. Pathos, emotion, right? Fear is an emotion-based feeling, right? It's emotion-based. There's no logic in that. There's no logic in it. Then he tells you, he's making his own interpretation. So what? So I just want y'all to be aware. Listen, they're really going ham. But what they don't want is they don't want to have to go and try to enforce these laws when these people are standing up saying, I will not stand for these laws. When the municipal police are saying, I won't stand for your laws. I won't stand for these laws. These laws are not unconstitutional. They are inhumane laws. That's what you need to start saying. Not unconstitutional, inhumane. These laws violate human rights, not constitutional rights. Let's use the correct words here. Let's kill them with their own motherfucking bullshit. Let's get rid of the euphemisms and go straight to what it is. The Constitution does not protect your rights. It will not shield you from people trying to take your rights away. No. It recognizes and tells the lawmakers that you will protect these rights. See, the lawmakers that you elect or that are selected, these people that you guys vote for to put in office, they're supposed to protect your rights. But obviously, they're not doing that. They don't do that. That's really not what they want to do. They want power. It's about power and control. They want to control you, and they want to have the power. So stop arguing. Stop making these arguments. Stop using all the Constitution. Stop saying constitutional rights. Stop saying it. Stop acting like the Constitution is a vibranium shield. It's not. It's paper. It means nothing. It means nothing. The Constitution is a bunch of malarkey, motherfucker. But one thing that wasn't malarkey is those Bill of Rights. The first 10 amendments are absolute, right? What they outline is absolute. Right to free speech, right to assemble, separation of church and state, shall not be infringed your rights to keep and bear arms. It doesn't say we grant you these rights. No. The right to be safe and secure in your person's papers and effects. The right to not have soldiers and police officers busting your house and using your house commandeering your house from you for no goddamn reason during war or otherwise. State powers, there are state rights that can't be superseded by federal bullshit. That's the one y'all can keep that. Fuck a state. I don't need a state to let me know that my rights are my rights. Fuck that. So these Bill of Rights are just there so that we as people can say, look at these Bill of Rights. This shit you shall not step on. You shall not step on these. All the other shit in this constitutional book means nothing. These 10 things outlined, plus more, are all we need. Fuck a law. Man, come on, man. You see, this is what your legislators do. You vote these people into office, and this is how they think. Oh, you better not stand up for your rights. Oh, there's going to be some consequences. Oh, there's going to be some lives lost. See, this is how they think, man. You heard them? You heard them with your own mouth. You heard them with your own mouth. You stand up for your rights, there will be consequences. Second Amendment, sanctuary spread, gun control groups warn of consequences. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Hit that like button, share, subscribe, whatever you want to do. And I'll get back at y'all later.